Well, the privilege of a first response, I think, should go to Wolfgang.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is a very impressive set of presentations, but in particular, also I'm still I'm still thinking about the principles spelled the other way, not this one.
You've been thinking about them your whole career.
Yeah, and whether there's any missed, but I mean, at least this, actually this cohort progression, once the population is differentiated, which is your last, that's a prerequisite for then modeling the cohort progression. And there actually is a term to this that Norman Ryder coined, this demographic metabolism, as societies change through cohort replacement. And I believe that indeed is a hegemonic principle, that we can, many of the social changes or economic changes or other changes happening in societies can be modeled and can be projected. Switch. Can be, no. Well, it doesn't matter.
Take this one.
Yes, that our demographic tools, and in particular this principle underlying the tool, is indeed very powerful and should conquer the world outside demography. So thank you for reminding us of this.
Bilal, is that it? Uh-oh, here comes a difficult one.
I think that this model on the principles of demography is too general to fit on demography, because the essential thing in demography is obviously fertility. So what you have is a renewable aggregate of objects and so on. But your 4 points would also fit, let's say, to an educational system in the sense of Darmstadt of Stone, where you have a university system with the cohorts, with the periods, and so on. Everything is through there. But this is not demography. But even more, Jimbo Bell once considered this paper where he considered cars, the renewal of cars, and so on. But this is not human fertility or even not animal fertility, would also fit into this stuff. So I think you have to add something to, if you concern with demography. And the essential thing is, beside of mortality and migration, the essential thing is fertility. In that case, you can apply a renewal equation, and you have an aggregate of renewal things which are replaced and so on in the aging process.
Yes, I accept that critique and that suggestion, partly. I think the fact that the principles that I identify apply more broadly than demography is a strength of them, not a weakness, because they are centered in demography. I don't think people who are thinking about cars or other things think of these principles. We think about them in demography. And the point is that others should be thinking about them explicitly also, because it would benefit the way they think about things. However, I very much take your comment about subject matter related principles being more specific to demography, and therefore for some purposes more useful.
Thank you. Warren, then Brian.
I love this notion of principles of demography. I think it's absolutely great, and I was trying to think of whether we could add another one for Wolfgang. And I don't have time to make it quite the best I can, but maybe we could just say that we have a principle that people can change. That instead of saying that a person is a unit of observation, like a dog or a cat could go from here to there, a very important part of what Wolfgang teaches us is that we could change people through education. Exactly. And that makes it a little bit different from other kinds of things that we might study. So maybe we need to add that as a new principle.
I will add it. I will add that, and I think the way it's wrapped up is what Wolfgang frequently says, which is we are not the same person when we leave this room as we were when we entered it, because there has been a fundamental change. Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, I wanted to echo Warren's thoughts. I find it really interesting and useful and worth thinking about some more and maybe developing further. In that spirit, so just a couple comments. I mean, I think a couple of these you can think of in terms of principles that are probably exist in other fields.
Yes.
Although that doesn't mean that they're not sort of foundational in demography as well. I mean, the first one is kind of the conservation of mass idea, except that it's not, people are neither created nor destroyed, it's that they are created and they are destroyed, but that's it, right? So you can't invent new people unless they're born or die. I do like, the age period cohort one seems to me possibly more unique to demography, the fact that an object of interest, a person's behavior can depend on 3 different aspects of time. You could imagine like capital stock is similar, like vintaging capital, you can have sort of the same idea, but I don't think it's explicitly thought about that way in economics. And the last comment is on the disaggregation. I wouldn't necessarily say the principle is disaggregate to find the most important phenomena. Sometimes the aggregate impact is the most important one. To me, just thinking about it a little more, at least a first guess would be, in principle, the heterogeneity of a population is irreducible. That ultimately, since every person is different from the next one in some way, that unlike many other systems, the more you disaggregate, you're always going to have units that differ from each other. It may still be useful to aggregate to some degree, because they don't differ that much, but they will, in principle, always differ at least some. And that may be the key thing about the disaggregation issue. So just some comments, but I really like the general idea.
Thank you. Those are all excellent points. I've made notes on all of them, starting with Gustav.
Any last words? Well, then, who's going to